Excellent, and we are live again. Welcome to the PagerDuty Twitch stream. Today I have with me Russ Savage from InfluxData. Russ, welcome to the stream. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm a director of product management at InfluxData, where I work with our engineering teams to build out all sorts of tools for data ingestion, analyzing time series data, and acting on that data. So I'm really excited to be here and talk to you about one of the more important parts of the platform, which is the act, which is the connection into PagerDuty.
Excellent. We want to hear all about it. So I'm going to add your slides to the screen here, and you can take us through how it all works.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm not going to bore anybody with a bunch of slides. I've just got a couple just high level, and then we'll dive right into my account and start playing around with some real data. And obviously ask whatever you want along the way. I've been at Influx for about 4 years now, so I know all the dirty secrets. No, I know all the bits and pieces of how everything works. So ask away. InfluxData, we build InfluxDB. So InfluxDB is a platform for metrics and events. And so, a platform, a little bit of a ephemeral idea, but really what it boils down to is we build a ton of tooling and capability around accumulating metric and event data from anywhere. So any sort of machines, virtual, physical, any sort of hardware, any sort of IoT devices, anything like that, bring all that data in. At the center and the core of our platform is world-class time series database, InfluxDB. And so we were able to quickly ingest, store, and then create tools to analyze that information in real time. And then act on that data. So whether the action is just visualizing it and seeing trending over time, or building out complicated alert patterns for your team, for your DevOps team, your SRE team, and everything in between, or triggering remote processes. So really we're designed for people who want to build a monitoring application for their company, for their team, and bring all that information in. Just to step back a little bit, we enable these organizations to make these cost disruptive decisions on high volumes of time sensitive data. That's kind of the marketing speak, but really what that boils down to is it's really cheap and easy to bring all of your time series data in and analyze it really quickly. And the two types and the two main use cases we see out there in the world for InfluxDB. So a huge explosion of sensors in the physical world. The buzzword for this is IoT, obviously. Every day people are deploying thousands and thousands of more sensors. So I just read a couple weeks ago they're upgrading the air quality monitoring in London. And the new system generates 100x amounts of data than the old system did. So you start seeing these explosions of sensors in the physical world. They're getting smaller, they're getting cheaper, and they're pumping out more metrics than ever before. All that data needs to be brought into and ingested and analyzed in real time. And so that's a huge use case. And then we also see instrumentation of the virtual world. And so anybody who's been around for a little while remembers things used to run on actual hardware. You used to actually have to go out and buy physical machines. Then everything started to get virtualized and containerized. And so you started seeing these commodity hardware where you're running virtual machines, and then those virtual machines are now running pods and containers and all that sort of stuff. So with every layer, with every, the same metrics are super useful: CPU, memory, disk. It's just exponential in terms of tracking and monitoring those things. And so, bringing all that data, same as the IoT use case, bringing all that data into a central location and analyzing it is no easy task. So our platform is designed to help you do that. Really, at the core, we're really focused on developers and builders. So what we're looking for is people to build the next monitoring application using our tooling and using our capabilities. And so we want to focus on developer happiness, this time to awesome where you can get up and running really quickly without hitting a bunch of roadblocks, and design and build so that you can test it on a couple different machines, but then scale out to the rest of the world. So we have a global infrastructure where you can very quickly and easily kind of deploy and scale your application. We also have an open source instance that you can use for local testing. It's got the same API as our cloud product. So when you're ready to go live into production, you just change a couple of URLs and security credentials, and you're good to go. So really, really awesome, really easy platform for developers to build on top of. Oh, this is the demo slide. So that means I got to jump out of here and actually stop talking and jump into my own account here. So I will, let's go into full screen. Why not? So we posted in the chat our InfluxDB cloud product. It's got a free forever tier. Jump in there. You don't need credit card, just an email address. You can sign and get access to all of this. And this is what you see when you log in. So on the left side is a bunch of stuff that we'll go through just a little bit. But really, the three main things you need to accomplish at the very beginning: you need to load your data in. You need to view it either in a dashboard or explore it to see kind of the shape, and then we can set up some alerting. So I'll show you some bits and pieces, and then obviously we'll go through the alerting in a lot more detail. So let's talk about data ingestion. Not really the most interesting topic, but it's one of those things that you kind of have to do. You need to get your data into the system if you want to work with it. And so we really focus on providing as many different ways to load your data in as possible. And it all kind of happens in this area of the application. So because we're kind of designed and built for application builders, we have a ton of client libraries for you to incorporate into your own application. So one of the more popular ones are Python. You can get up and running really quickly. We give you all the sample code that you need to get started, all of those credentials, everything you need, so you can get up and running quickly and start ingesting your data from your application. Whether your application is like a hardcore Flask API, or just a simple Python script that you need to ingest a couple large files into, you can do that. And again, we've got it for all of the popular languages. We also have a data collection agent, and this is really popular in the DevOps world. So shouldn't be news to anybody that in order to get data from your virtual machines, you usually deploy a data collection agent. Yeah. InfluxDB or InfluxData has an awesome data collection agent called Telegraph. Huge open source community project that has really gotten a ton of traction, and people use it for all sorts of things. But at its core, it's a little application that you basically stick next to anything you want to monitor, whether that's an application, whether that's infrastructure, whether that's pods or nodes or whatever. You stick it as close as you can to the data, and it sits there, silently collects information and pumps it to wherever you want to go. And so, ours is set up to pump, directly into our cloud product, and we've got a ton of different options. I think there's over 200 different plugins. They're all designed so that you can just configure it with a simple text file. You don't have to write any code, and the data starts streaming in. And I'll show you kind of what that looks like. So I like to say Telegraph, anything that's pumping out metric data, you can leverage Telegraph to ingest it. And you can even do set up webhooks using Telegraph, or set up HTTP proxies, all sorts of super awesome use cases, and really, really awesome open source project. Let's see here. Other things that are important to know about loading your data. Again, you can incorporate this into your application. You can use your data collection agent, which is awesome. The data is going to land in a bucket. A bucket is if you're coming from the relational database world, a bucket is akin to a database. But at the end of the day, it's just a location to store your data. And however you want to it's an organizing principle for how you load your data into Influx. It's also used for security. So, for example, when you're generating API tokens, you can generate API tokens that read and write to specific buckets. So you can isolate your data that way, and make sure that people don't have access to what they're not supposed to. And once the data starts flowing in, you can start looking at it. So we have an awesome data explorer capability in our UI that really makes it easy to look at some of the data that's flowing in. So behind the scenes, I've got a couple of servers at home that are pumping metrics in from Telegraph, and this is kind of the standard system metrics of CPU. And I can hit submit. And with a couple buttons, I've got an awesome graph of my CPU data over the past 6 hours coming in from Influx. And I'll make it a little easier to read since my servers have a couple of CPUs. So right away you can start seeing just some insights from the data that's flowing in. All you have to do is set up Telegraph and start pumping metrics in. But something is happening on these home servers, and honestly, they're kind of a Frankenstein of a bunch of different side projects that I have. So who knows what's going on? But it seems like every hour, Yosemite.prod kind of jumps in my usage user. Who knows? Some sort of batch process is running. It's awesome. So you can get up and running and see trends in your data without writing any code.
Yeah.
Of course, for the codies out there, we have a full script editor capability directly in our UI. So this is designed and built around the same editor that VS Code uses. So this is a Monaco editor. This language that you see, this is called Flux. So Flux is a dedicated processing language for our platform. It's designed to be easy to read and easy to write. If you look at this, this is all generated for you. You can come in here and start customizing it and doing whatever you want. So I'm basically grabbing data from a bucket. I've got a time range, which in this case is the past 6 hours. I'm filtering it to the information that I'm looking for. Measurement, field, CPU. Those are just kind of organizing principles in the Influx data world that you'll understand. And then you can start running aggregations on it. In this case, I'm doing a mean, but I can quickly change that to look at the max information and rerun that query, and I can start seeing what the shape looks like. We've got a full list of all the functions that are available in Flux. There's a ton of them. Anything from simple kind of moving averages to more complex like Holt-Winters type of analysis. All sorts of stuff. The Flux language is its own open source project. So if you have an awesome calculation that you want to see included in the standard library, you can open a PR against our Flux repository. We've got user contributed functions all the time, and start getting that capability into our platform. Flux is actually the language that powers everything in the platform. So behind the scenes, anytime you see data displayed, somewhere something is running Flux. So ideally, right, it's something that over time you start getting your hands on and start leveraging to do some really awesome complex analysis of the data flowing in. You can bring in and join data from two different sources and do all sorts of aggregations and customizations, and then alert on that result. And so you start seeing users build out these kind of custom metrics or these aggregated metrics or these downsampled metrics, all sorts of different types of metrics that you can then build complex alerting on top of to really understand and only alert you when there's an actionable problem. And we've also got some predictive functions in there as well. So if you want to build out projections and predictive capabilities and alert when something is trending towards a bad state, you can do that in our platform too. All right, real quick before we jump into the meat, just a couple more pieces. We've got all sorts of different ways to display your data. However you like. At the end of the day, that ends up on some dashboarding. So for example, you can bring in a system dashboard that has kind of information about the those different services. So really easy to get up and running with dashboarding. You can add variables to customize the display and change the queries from the UI. You can add annotations to whenever something something looks funny, you can tell your team to go and look and investigate. All that sort of capability is there for dashboarding. We also have some sort of a background processing system. So if you these ad hoc queries are super useful for real time and exploring and looking at your data. But obviously, if you want something to run on a regular cadence or some sort of custom calculated metric or some sort of any sort of downsampling that you might need to do, you can schedule that using tasks. And that actually is what powers our alerting system as well. So, I've got this is a water meter in my house that's monitoring kind of the water. And this is running every hour and just calculating an aggregate sum of the water usage that I have. So, and again, if I edit this task, it's all Flux behind the scenes. So you can customize and do anything you want. So really, really powerful. I think that's at a high level. That's kind of it for this. And I'll just say, like, we just scratched the surface, because you want to get to some of the PagerDuty integration work. But again, at a high level, our platform is designed with a ton of APIs and a ton of tooling and a ton of client libraries and a ton of anything to make developing and building your time series application much easier. And so, all of these different tools can be leveraged to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there, and it looks like a good combination of commercial, but also some things that might be interesting for the hobbyists. Like you're watching a bunch of things in your house, so you have a lot of smart home hobbyists and other things going on there.
Yeah, a ton. So I love again just the water meter that's in my house. It's really awesome. I can see. Let's see. Hopefully, this data is still flowing in. Otherwise, I'm going to be in trouble. Looks like it's not flowing in. I was going to say I've got a ton of IoT devices in my house that are pumping metrics in, and somewhere it's in here. Let me see. Is it in here? No, I don't think so. But yeah, we do have a ton of. Here's one. This is my Rachio sprinkler system that is pumping in some sprinkler information coming in here, and I'll just drop because I think this is a string value. Yeah, so I can see kind of when my sprinkler system is turning on and off, which is kind of cool. And just kind of having that information, and you can build all sorts of interesting kind of automation on top of that, or sending notes and alerts when my sprinkler system is starting. So because we have a free account, a free tier, a lot of people will use it for hobby and projects. Our paid model is a pay as you go. So you really only pay for what you use. And so, if you've got a very small use case and it's a couple cents a month for doing some kind of cool home automation kind of stuff, whatever you need to do.
Awesome. I'll take some notes in case I put an irrigation system into my garden next year.
Yeah, all this stuff is set up. It's set up using our APIs, and the Flume stuff has a Telegraph plugin, and the Rachio stuff, I think it just has an HTTP endpoint that you just can fetch information from. So
nice.
Yeah,
awesome.
Cool. I think that's let's see here. I think that's pretty good for now. If I jump over to what else do I have? I think that was it. I just had a summary slide. So time series platform for your data applications. We've got ingestion, visualization, query. It scales and is elastic. You pay for only what you use. We've got a ton of powerful REST APIs and tooling to help you build faster and write less code. And then obviously we've got a huge community and all sorts of support and assistance anytime you need it. So
awesome.
Yeah, that's it for my slides. Learn more at influxdata.com.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, so I think we need to start setting up an integration.
Yes. Let's see the dirt here.
Yeah. All right, so I'm not a PagerDuty expert. I'm a novice, but actually super impressed. I went through and signed up for their 14-day free trial. I really love the onboarding experience that they've got going on. I was able to get up and running really quickly. Oh, I should mention, Austin, also our engineering team leverages PagerDuty all the time for all of their alerting.
Excellent.
So, huge. I see. It's never a great thing to see incidents being triggered, but we leverage our own system and our own tooling to integrate into PagerDuty and fire off alerts when things are going sour. So yeah, everything I show you, we're using it ourselves, which is
Excellent.
awesome. So this is my free trial account. What did I do? I came in, I set up a, I guess, service.
Mm-hmm.
I just called it home servers because, like I said, I've got some home servers that I'm using, and I want to create some monitoring and alerting on it. So in PagerDuty, the way that you do that is you set up an integration, right? So I'm going to set up an integration with my particular service. So I don't have any integration set up right now. Let's add one. And our integration with Influx, I know that there's some really awesome like APIs integrations with PagerDuty, and they've got a bunch of new APIs. We're leveraging the Events API for pumping that stuff in. It's super straightforward. We really love it, and I know that we're in talks to incorporate some of the new API capabilities. But for right now, we're leveraging the Events API. Once you've got that integration added in, you've got your integration key, and I am going to just grab that integration key because I will need it for the next step where I jump into the InfluxDB UI. All right, so over here, let's see if I can remember the keyboard shortcuts for jumping back to my InfluxDB tab. So, all right, I am back in InfluxDB. I'll jump over to the alerting section, which I didn't talk about yet, but we've got a whole section dedicated to monitoring and alerting. It's a system that is designed to scale and really build out kind of this powerful custom alerting framework. And it's divided into three main pieces, three kind of concepts that's helpful to understand. So we have checks. Checks are constantly running against the data in your database and generating statuses that help you understand, what the state of your data is. So, if you've got, it's essentially a query that executes behind the scenes. You guys saw all the Flux code that I showed before. Behind the scenes, this is Flux code. It executes against your data, finds a value, and then identifies whether that value is in a critical or a warning or an okay state. That's at the end of the day what it does. The second piece is kind of a notification rule. Now, notification rules can be set up and defined for doing all sorts of stuff, but you can set up a system so that you have checks, hundreds of checks running against the data that's coming in. You have a couple of notification rules that notify specific teams or specific locations of what you want to do, and you can set them up so that they run against all of the checks. And so usually, what our customers will do, they'll add maybe a couple, one or two or three notification rules, and then they'll continuously add checks into the system. And as they add checks, they automatically flow into the notifications that are already there.
Okay.
You define an endpoint for your notification rule. So let's create an endpoint. In this case, I've got a couple options. There's even more in the code, but these are kind of built directly into the UI to make them a little easier. One of the destinations is PagerDuty. Now, I will note that PagerDuty is you need to upgrade out of the free tier for PagerDuty. So if you don't see it directly in our UI, that's why. Just drop your credit card in there. And again, it's a pay-as-you-go model. So super easy to get started. And then you'll see it in our UI. So you can just set it up really quickly. I apologize in advance. I can't type and talk at the same time. So
No worries.
anytime
Yeah.
I'm typing even the smallest amount of words on the screen, I will not be able to respond to anything else. I'm going to drop in the routing key, which was that integration key that I grabbed from PagerDuty. And then we've got this client URL. This client URL tells PagerDuty how to link back to the Influx system. So we have an alert history page, and usually you probably don't need to change this. We auto-generate that for you, and so I'll create that. No Chrome, I don't really want to save that right now. So I've got my my PagerDuty endpoint set up. Obviously, I can add labels for particular team and whatever I need so that I can find it again later. Cool. I'll jump into my notification rule and I'll use that endpoint to create a rule. Now, this rule is going to be a super simple rule because this is just the jumping off point. See, I can't talk and type at the same time. This is just going to tell us when things are in a bad state. And because this is a demo, I'm going to set this up to run pretty frequently. Let's set this up to run every 10 seconds. And I'm going to alert anytime this status equals critical. So anytime I see a check in my system that jumps from OK to critical, this is gonna alert and send a note to PagerDuty. I can customize this. I can add some filtering logic too. So the way that the system is set up, when you define your checks, if you've got multiple teams that are working and defining their own custom checks, they can add some metadata to that check, such that you can then make sure that your notification rule picks up your checks for your team. So, for example, if you organize it with particular storage team or particular analytics team, you can then filter that here so only gets picked up. I can select my endpoint, and then I can customize the message that gets sent over. And this is super useful if you want to provide additional information. Basically, any information from your data that comes through can be added into the status message and sent over to PagerDuty. So I'm just going to leave the default right now, but I'll show you how you can customize that in the check itself. All right, so this is up and running behind the scenes. This is going to run every 10 seconds and look for any critical states in the system. Of course, I don't have any checks set up, so it's running against nothing right now. What I'm going to do is jump over and set up a check. So we've got two different types of checks you can build in the UI, and you can obviously I'll show you after we get through one end to end in the UI. I'll show you how to dive into the nitty-gritty details and customize it to your heart's content. So we've got threshold checks and we've got dead man checks. So threshold checks, if value is over a certain amount, trigger an alert. Super straightforward. Dead man is another very popular check. Is if something stops reporting. So if a server goes down, if you don't see a metric for a certain amount of time, let me know about it, which is also super popular when machines start crashing. So let's go over to the threshold check. Let's jump over and look at that same data that we pulled up before. We'll jump over and look at Telegraph. We'll look at my CPU metrics, and we'll look at that usage user. Now, again, this is the same experience, same UI that was from the other one. So you can start to see as you're looking at this data, you can start seeing over time, over history, like what does the shape of my data look like? What do I need to set my thresholds at? That type of information. In this case, I'm going to name this as a high CPU check. I'm going to jump over to configure it. This one I'm going to run I'm going to run this pretty frequently. I'm going to run this every 5 seconds because I really want to make sure that this hits. There's not a lot of dead airtime here, obviously. So again, this also has a status message template. Okay. So I can customize what this looks like. In this case, if I look at the data here, I can see that I've got a couple of different pieces of information that would probably be useful here. It's already filled in with the check name, but I probably want to put in my host name here. So my host is going to be, this is an interpolation syntax that is really awesome. You can put in whatever you want there. Host is, and then my level. So this should actually inject the host in either Yosemite or Tahoe City of whatever I'm doing. And then I can define my thresholds here. So in this case, let's define some critical threshold. And again, because this is a demo, let's make sure that this hits pretty frequently. What are these data points? This is percentage CPU usage. So let's go really bold and say anything over a 2. Oh, we can probably do over a 3. It's going to trigger a crit. I should get a crit pretty instantly.
Yeah.
As you can see here. And then I'll mark it anything that's below a 2. I'll say it's okay. Or I guess a 3, huh? I'll say it's okay. I'll go in and customize this and show you how to do it. Cool. Let's create it and see what happens.
Right.
Let's go over to my drag my let's see here. Can I drag something over there? Let's see. It's not letting me do it. Oh, probably because I'm in full screen here with Chrome. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So I just got my first PagerDuty alert. Yay! So we can all breathe a sigh of relief, mostly me, because doing a live demo is always a little stressful. But yeah, you can see I've got my alert came through on my home servers. I've got a check that's running. It's my high CPU check. I put in my host information there. My Yosemite.prod is in critical, and now I've got to do some management here. What is it? 84. I guess I got to reply.
Yep.
So that's awesome. And yeah, I can jump over into let's see here. I can jump into PagerDuty and see what's showing up in my my window here. My events came through. Uh-oh, got some problems. So awesome. So things are running behind the scenes, and you can get alerted. Now this is super simple. Obviously, you're probably not gonna create the stuff on those type of CPU metrics, but again, people set it up so that you can have something that when the CPU spikes to 60%, you can send a warning. Jumps to 80 or 90, you can jump into critical. You can send those to different channels. So if you've got different teams, or you want to send it to your internal your Slack or your Microsoft Teams, whatever integration, and then when someone needs to get paged and woken up in the middle of the night, you can do that. Yeah, it's super customizable.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. All right, so we've done kind of the basics. Let's dive into the details behind the scenes.
Cool.
Okay, so this stuff is all powered by Flux behind the scenes. How do I know that? Well, I can go over here and I can actually look and edit the Flux underneath, and go right into the details. So this is the task that is generated from our UI. And this is all the nitty-gritty details. My phone keeps going off. I should probably disable this while I'm talking to everybody here. I'll disable this check real quick, and then I'll jump over to PagerDuty, and I will resolve these things so that I don't keep getting alerted. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's go back in and look at the task here. Now, it looks a little bit complicated, but I promise you it's not. At the high level, there's basically 3 parts. There's the information that you want to actually alert on. So if you look at this, it should look pretty familiar. Telegraph, measurement, CPU usage, the things that I selected in the UI generated here. And then I'm doing an aggregate. I could probably change this to max, which would probably make more sense in this case. I've got some information about my task. This is the name of the check.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this query can literally be any Flux you want. So if you want to do some really complex moving averages, Holt-Winters, algorithms, any sort of calculation you want to do, you can even call out to an external service. So for example, if you've got a machine learning model somewhere that is doing predictions, you can fetch information from that and actually use it in one of these checks using our HTTP library built into Flux. You can do some super complicated stuff. You've got the information about the check. You probably don't want to change too much there. And you've got kind of the threshold functions that are crit and OK. And if you've got warning or you've got info, you can do that. These are super simple, but you can obviously customize these to be whatever you want. So if you want to do, this is a custom function. You could do any sort of calculation here. You can convert Fahrenheit to Celsius or do all sorts of stuff. And then you've got the message function, which is, again, that's what I customized in the UI. You can tweak this out and put in whatever information you want, and then you can actually call it. So yeah, you can dive in and customize this code however you want to do, and you can also grab it, copy it, and jump over into Data Explorer, and you can view kind of what's going on live. And so I'm just going to, in this case, I'm going to comment out the monitor function because that's like what actually starts writing the data here. But I can run this and see what information it's actually going to show. Now I'm lucky because I turned it, I stopped. Let's see here. What did I do? I stopped doing some sort of somehow my data stopped showing for the past 5 seconds, because this data is actually collected every 10 seconds. So let me customize this -1 minute. And I'll start seeing some data. And I can come in here and I can start looking at the data coming through and start really kind of iterating and building out this query however I want. Yeah. So it's a great way to interactively build out your query. You can then take this Flux and drop it into your client library, right? So this is the same interface that your client library uses. So you can tweak and customize and optimize the query here, and then drop directly into your client library and use it in your application. Super cool.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And before again, just to roll up my sleeves and show you that everything is powered by Flux. You could do the same thing for the notification endpoint, right? So this is all generated behind the scenes, but you can come in and customize it however you want. There's probably not a ton of customization you would do in the notification endpoint, but I mentioned that there's a couple of that are included in the UI that's that are super handy. But if you want to, let's see here, I can't see the menu bar here, which is not great. Our docs have some awesome information about, let's see here, the PagerDuty package, but there's also a ton of other notification endpoints that you can set up. PagerDuty has all sorts of information. You really dive in and get into the code and start customizing however you want. So yeah, super handy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you integrate PagerDuty and Influx, and yeah, that's everything behind the scenes. Now, all of this capability is available in at our APIs, right? So if you prefer to work natively in whatever tool you want, you can do that. If you love working in VS Code, for example, we have a Flux plugin into VS Code. It actually lets you connect into your cloud account, look at the tasks and the code that's running there, edit it. You can run those directly from VS Code and tweak and customize there, and then upload it when you're finished and happy with the result.
Nice. That's really nice. So for folks that have this tool in their environment, what do you see them do? Like, what's their main use case with it during the day? Do they use it for dashboards? Are they using it as this sort of glue piece for data into other places?
Yeah, great question. So we see a couple different use cases. So obviously our dashboarding built in is really great. It's I'll be honest, like it's really focused on kind of operational monitoring of the systems and services that are kind of critical to your application. If you really want a fully featured, like all like total super package dashboarding tool, again, we are a best in class time series platform,
Yeah.
and we recommend other best in class tools. So you can connect us up into Grafana or any other dashboarding tool that you love, and kind of integrate with all your other systems. So yeah, we definitely see people leveraging us for dashboarding, and looking at that information. But then we also see people leveraging a lot of this background processing for basically building custom views for users of their application. So imagine you've got a bunch of users that are leveraging maybe a mobile app to view metrics about some sort of system that they're monitoring. And this is actually one of our customers is Tesla, and they leverage us to display information about users' power walls and solar usage to their users. And so what they do is users can pull up their phone, and they can look at graphs about their usage for electricity. And what they'll do is they'll pre-calculate some aggregations for users so that when they're fetching that information, it's super fast. And so a lot of people will leverage our platform for bringing in that raw data, but then building custom metrics or aggregations on top of it, and then presenting that to the users in their application. So and creating those kind of custom views. And then obviously you can build out that alerting on top of those custom metrics. So whether it's a pre-computed value that you're using, or anything you need, you can do that directly in our platform, and then bring that into your application.
Great. No, it's super powerful. It sounds like there's a lot of benefits for that for all kinds of different use cases. So.
Yeah, and we see in the DevOps monitoring space, right, bringing in a ton of server metrics, right? So we you've got I don't need to tell anybody who's on here this, but data centers on all the machines and all the virtual machines in there. You can deploy Telegraph agents in there to fetch and bring all that information in, and then organize it here. If you notice, right, when I was building out that check, I built one query, but it alerted me on two different hosts. And so, you think about how that kind of expands and grows. You can essentially, with a single query, you can monitor all of the hosts in an entire data center, and look at their CPU or disk usage, and let you know when things are going south. So, it really is a way to write less code, and bring that analytical capability to your users and yourself, if you're in charge of making sure those servers are up and running.
Awesome. No, that sounds great. Absolutely. Like we posted a bunch of the links for your projects and your GitHub repositories and stuff into the chat. Hopefully folks check that out. There's a lot of interesting stuff there, a lot of active projects, lots of plugins and integrations and great stuff for Influx on that side. Sounds like there's just so many possibilities for what folks can do with their data there. So
yeah, it's really, and just before I go, I do want to talk a little bit about something we're calling notebooks in our UI. So I showed you a lot of Data Explorer and a lot of task editing and alert editing. If you noticed, right, like there's a couple different ways to edit and build in our platform. We really want to bring that together into a common experience, and we want to provide a way for users to quickly share the queries and data that they're working on. And so notebooks is a way to do that. And so if you notice, when I was in Data Explorer, I was moving things around, and my work wasn't really saved, right? It was kind of just it disappeared because I'm actively exploring and doing different permutations. But if I wanted to work on a query with a team member or keep the information around, I'd put that into a notebook and customize it. So, for example, you can jump in. We've got an interface that lets you select whatever metric you're interested in. So, for example, I'll grab my Telegraph bucket. Again, another way that you can grab different different metrics that you're interested in. And I'll grab this tag. Right away, you see kind of the visualizations are slightly different. You still get that same line graph that you can see kind of data over time, but you also see a tabular view of your data, which can be really useful for understanding the individual values. And then you can start adding different cells for doing different things here. So, for example, you can start downsampling that information, doing aggregates on it, and without having to customize or write any queries from scratch. And then at the end of the day, you can then start creating outputs to that. So you can start taking once you've got data that you're interested in and you're really happy with what it looks like, you can start building out alerts directly in this system and start bringing that over. So it's basically we're working on this as a way to streamline the way that teams work together on building out data analysis in our platform. And so look for coming soon, kind of bringing the other experiences around query editing into this and creating kind of a unified way for people to build on in our UI. So it's really awesome, and the team behind it has been working super hard. Even there's just a ton of engineering and plumbing behind the scenes to make this stuff work. So
yeah,
really proud of the team, and it's going to continue to iterate and improve. So looking forward to anybody who plays around with it and has feedback. Come join us in our community Slack channels. Come join us in our GitHub. Come join us in anywhere, and we're happy to respond and figure out how to improve the product.
That's excellent. No, that sounds great. Do you envision, like, will those sort of notebooks, will they be something that folks can sort of open source themselves and like contribute across different organizations, or are they sort of held within one account?
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're working on as users grow their usage of our cloud product, we're starting to add more and more capabilities around organizational elements, and so you start seeing accounts with many different organizations in them, and so figuring out ways to share analysis across those organizations is definitely on our roadmap. Right now, these are focused on a particular organization in your cloud platform. But as we grow out and we start including multi-org and multi-account experiences as people start growing their usage, we want this to be people to be able to share them, people to be able to edit them across teams and across experiences. One thing I didn't touch on that's a super powerful way to work with a team is our community templates. So behind the scenes, everything that I showed you in this platform can be described as a resource, a CRD, custom resource definition. I had to think of that for a second, and so that can be all templatized and included into kind of your GitOps workflows.
Oh,
so
excellent.
if you guys are GitOps wizards and you're checking everything into GitHub and you're doing all sorts of CI/CD automation, you can take all of your queries, all of your configuration as code, all of that sort of stuff, define it, deploy it into GitHub, and build automation scripts to automatically deploy that to your cloud account on check-in. So if you prefer to work in that model, which a lot of teams do, we support that. You can leverage our CLI tooling to build automation scripts super easily. I've got a blog post out there and a GitHub repo that leverages GitHub Actions to do that. That automation. So if you prefer working that way, platform is set up and designed to work in that workflow too.
Fantastic. That sounds great. Yeah, I bet everyone's compliance officers love that record of what's been put where and how everything is configured. So
yeah, everybody loves source control.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that covers all of our questions and everything. Folks, if you would like to keep in touch with InfluxData, you can join, as you mentioned, their community Slack is influxdata.com/Slack. If you would like to hang out with all your PagerDuty friends, we're at community forums.pagerduty.com. That's where our forums are. There'll be folks there to answer your questions. If you have questions about integrating things with PagerDuty and your PagerDuty account, and getting all of your alerts and all that important stuff there. So check out more stuff there, influxdata.com. Russ, thank you very much for
thanks for having
joining
me.
the
This was
stream
really
today.
awesome.
No, this is fantastic. The design of your UI design is very nice.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll pass it along to the design team. They work really hard on it. So
excellent. All right. Well, thanks for joining, folks out there. Thanks for joining us today. If you have any other questions, make sure you join those Slacks and those forums. If you like what you saw, make sure you follow our accounts, and we'll be back later with more from PagerDuty. Thanks for watching. Make sure you never miss a stream. Follow us at PD Community and PagerDuty on twitch.tv. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you'd like to be on our stream, email us at community-team@pagerduty.com so we can feature the cool things you're doing. And don't forget, check out all of our global events on our calendar at pagerduty.com/events.